republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll do roll call, please.
Councilmember Waller?
Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Gullickson?
Yes.
Mayor Gee?
Okay, we have some official acts here. Election of the mayor pro tem, appointment of ex officios, and designation of official newspaper. This is a new one for me.
Should we just take them one at a time?
Yep.
Good idea.
Thank you.
I nominate Kim to be mayor pro tem again.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor, or any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. The appointment of ex officios. I think we had a list of that.
Does anybody want to change?
I move that we just keep the officios as listed.
I'll second.
I do believe that Sheldon was back at the West Central Initiative. My term, or there was a limit, you can only be on there so long, and I think Sheldon did that last year. Again, I would be glad to take it but I think with your term limits, or you need to take a break in between after so many years, and I'm almost positive Sheldon was on that last year. It shows me listed.
Is it different for some of them? For like the RFC, they have that too, but because I'm appointed, it's not, it doesn't apply? Is that, because I don't face that when on the RFC board, there's a 6-year term or 3-year, I think, or something. But because I'm appointed because that person is appointed by the city.
Right. It's the same way with like the SCIC. There's certain members that are on there year after year after year, and then there's certain members that are selected by their boards to represent them.
Correct. So I'm just curious if maybe that's the same with.
I think the initiative fund probably has some pretty strict rules on how they want membership there.
Do you get to vote on things at the RFC? That'd be
I'm sorry, at the community ed, not the RFC, the community ed.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, each one of those boards is gonna have their own bylaws and own rules on what it is. It's not standard.
So what do you want to do there?
I would suggest we switch the West Central Initiative back to Mayor Gee's unless he has a problem with that. I will gladly do it, but I don't think I can. I need a little bit longer of a break. I think he's still in the middle of it's normally like a 2-year term, I believe, at least to get voted on up there.
Well, we can do that, and if we have to, we can come back and next meeting and do another action.
Let's do that.
Okay, so we had a motion, a second, to keep as is with switching the WCI board to Mayor Gee's. Any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. And then we have the designation of the official newspaper. And we do have a request in here that the Stevens County Times would like to continue to be the official paper for the city of Morris.
I'll move that the Stevens County Times continues to be the official newspaper.
I'll second.
Any discussion with that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Citizens' comments. We have the presentation of the fire chief and a picture. He's bringing a picture with a presentation by the fire. Okay.
I just wanted to present to the council a new updated photo.
Microphone, please.
Microphone so they can hear
Just so
you.
we can hear.
All right.
Thank you.
I have the updated, most recent photo of the fire department, so I'm just presenting it to the council on behalf of all the Morris firemen.
And how many are in there now?
31.
31, that's a pretty good number.
We're down to 29 now, though.
Yeah.
Good looking crew.
Yeah, nice picture, thank
Got
you.
one in Iraq right now, welding for a year.
Yeah.
You know, one that is now in Georgia as a full-time fireman, so looking for a couple of good guys.
I like the uniforms. Really
Yeah,
nice.
it's
Take
pretty sharp. I mean,
retired.
Like you said, the old pictures, the old uniforms, I mean, they were uniforms, they were kinda like the print you got on your shirt there, not all that attractive, but I think it looks pretty sharp, so.
Very nice, yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank
looks
you,
good.
Chief.
We'll get that hung up and.
Put this at, Lane, just left
Yeah, here, I'll come get it from you.
grab it. We'll swap out the other one.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks,
All
Matt.
right, thank you, Matt. All right, public hearings. Do we have anybody that would like to present at a public hearing? No.
Actually, we should do
Citizens comments.
Citizens
Other.
comments. Oh, other citizens comments, sorry. Okay, you can present, stand in front, your name and your address,
to the mic.
please, in the microphone so they can hear it online.
Hi, my name is Phil Milson. I live at 11 East Second Street here in town. And I'm here because on January 5th, I received a parking citation. And I was advised by the police department to come to the city council meeting because we were not informed ahead of time that there was going to be a code red snow emergency. There was no snow that day. I did receive a phone call from an emergency comm number, but when I checked the message, there was no message. It just clicked off immediately. In addition to that, we were told that the town's Facebook page would have told us about the code red. Well, we work, we don't go on Facebook. And in addition to that, a local public access TV station, well, as you may know, Federated Television was our provider, and they don't provide the local television stations to us anymore. So I received this parking citation, and I feel it's very unfair because we had no way to know that there was going to be a code red that day.
So let me just ask, so you said you got a message on your phone from who?
Well, it said emergency comm, and there was a number on the caller ID. But when I checked the message, all I heard was a click. There was no message of any kind.
Okay, so then, well, and one of the things I did, I shared with the city council that we issued 48 citations, and there were several questions that came up as to not being informed that there is going to be a code red alert. There is an ordinance in Morris that when the public works director calls for a snow alert, that all vehicles have to be removed from the street after midnight. And so then ultimately the question is, how are we supposed to let people know that that's what we're doing? And so then the methods that we use are methods like the radio station. We use our social media pages. And the county has a system where when you sign up for it, they will send you an alert on your phone that there's a snow emergency that's called so that you can move your vehicle off the street. And realistically, there are people that probably don't know that yet, that that's the way it is. But it's unfortunate, but there's not much more that we can do to try to inform people. I had some people that were very upset and thought we should have contacted them directly, put a piece of paper in the door or something, but it's just really difficult to do. So we use the tools that are available to us, and out of all the vehicles in Morris, there were 48 tickets written for vehicles that were left on the streets. So, one of the questions that I'm asked is, well, since I didn't know, can you waive that fee? Part of the fee is $180 for the tow. If your vehicle was towed, I'm assuming your vehicle wasn't towed. And there were 48 tickets or 21 vehicles towed, and the reason the rest weren't towed is because there's only one tow truck to be able to tow vehicles off the street, and they did as many as they could. So then you got a $50 fine for being on the street, and if we waived your fine, we'd have to waive all the fines for all the other people that were on the street. So, one of the things that's unfortunate is we can't get to everybody directly to give them information, so we have to use the tools that are available to us. like the radio or now we have social media and other things to be able to do.
Okay, well, my question is, since I did receive a call, obviously, why was there not a message? Was there some problem with?
I don't know where you, I don't know what the call
Was there a certain, do you have a number?
It
What's
said
the,
emergency comm, it's on my home phone, but
That would have been through the, code red system, because they text and they call, so that would have been through the code red system.
And-
Do you have an answering service then at your home, or is it, and there was no message?
no message.
See, I got, I mean, it was just, I got it on my phone, and I got it on my landline, and
so you
everything was
got,
going.
it on your landline and it left a
Yep,
message?
left a message on my recorded line, and I get that all the time. Have you lived in Morris for a while?
For 3 years.
3 years.
And this is the first, situation like this.
Oh, okay.
And in addition to that, we rent, and we live in a very old house. It was built in 1920. There's no garage. And in the past, we parked in the backyard when there's been bad snowstorms. But this year, the snow and the ice is so thick that there's no place for us to park. So it's literally like, if we don't park on the street, what is our alternative?
That's a landlord issue because they are supposed to provide a parking spot for
What is
each
your address, Phil?
bedroom.
11 East Second Street. Our landlord's name is Rodney Easy. He lives in Downing.
East,
You have to take that up with him about your parking spot,
What
because,
street?
yeah, they're supposed to
East
supply
Second
that for
Street.
you.
East Second.
And I guess my other complaint is that one of the communication methods that we were informed of was the television station, but FedTel is not providing that anymore.
Our local is not on there?
Well, FedTel doesn't do TV
Cable.
anymore,
Yeah,
so
the
there's
cable
only one
service is
TV
done.
company with public access. But your number one thing is to sign up for the instant message from the county. And you might want to just contact them and find out what happened with that. Because I know I was on the phone to somebody and I actually went on my phone and looked, and I think I got my message at like 11:19 that day. And then typically what it is it's a voice message
Yeah.
that tells you that the city of Morris has called a snow alert and all vehicles have to be off the street at a certain time. But the one thing I tell everybody that comes and talks to me is you need to make arrangements to get your vehicles off the street. And even if we don't call a snow alert, you should get your vehicles off the street if it snows, because we do have to come by and plow. And we plowed around a bunch of vehicles already this year. That creates a major problem for us.
Well, I think it's good to get out here that all the landlords out there need to supply their people with parking
Right.
spots, as you
Yep.
said. I mean, because
Exactly right.
in your situation, you know, it's not like you have a tractor to move all the snow or a plow to do it. These landlords are responsible for that. So, if there's not a spot, there should be some action taken against them for not being able to do that. Now, also, can we go back and find out that he did receive a call? The message was not recorded. Is there a problem with the system about did that? Because, okay, I got a call, but it didn't tell me there was a snow alert. So that was the way he gets contacted, but there's a malfunction in the contact. I think I would concur with being upset about that, and that would be the county.
Through county dispatch. That's
So
who's doing
me
it.
personally, I would not have a problem with doing something with this citation based on the fact that he was called, but there was no message
And I
left.
could provide you with my phone number and you could verify that there was.
I mean, if you hadn't signed up or weren't getting contact, that's the ball being dropped on the communication side, in my opinion, by the county or who's ever doing it. So I don't know what we can do about it, Blaine, or what we should do, but I feel that there is something to this claim. I don't know what you think, or.
Well, yeah, it's, obviously the system failed. In this case, it failed Phil, for sure. If you-
They'll be able to tell us if they're signed up for the
Right.
system.
Yeah, because if you're not signed up, I'm just kind of trying to figure out how you actually got notified in the first place.
We've gotten previous emergency notifications with messages, but not a code red for snow emergency.
Oh, It must be some other, I wonder if are you on any other kind of apps at all that would, it would pull through there somehow?
This is on a landline phone.
On your landline phone? That's crazy. I don't know.
We're in Minnesota, it snows, and we need to clean our streets so everyone can get around. Yeah, it's the long and short of it, and we have a system, and we should, if we've lived here at all, we should know that when it snows, they're gonna come by to clean the streets, and we need to get our vehicles off the streets.
Absolutely
Okay.
understood.
Yeah.
On January 5th, it did not snow. The snow had already been plowed. It was fairly well plowed that day. So-
Yeah, but there was a major
that-
storm coming. And everybody should have known that there was a major storm coming. That's, that's one of the things too, is that, it really, it's up to all of us to know and understand what's happening with weather. And everybody pretty much knew that there's a major storm coming. I don't know if you watch news at night. Yeah, there was blizzard warnings, there was all kinds of stuff going on, and that's kind of what we take into consideration when we're trying to figure out if we're gonna call one of these alerts. That we know and understand that we're gonna be dealing with a major issue with snow, and this was the first one that we've done in quite a while, but the snow's been building up on the roads from before, and that's the reason they called it.
It was because it was called at midnight on the 5th, correct? On that Wednesday,
It
the
goes
5th?
into effect at
On
midnight.
Goes
And
into
it
a-
had been snowing part of that day and blowing because school was called off. And I know this because I couldn't get to work that day. I work out of
Yeah,
town.
actually, it was snowing that day.
It
that we
was
called
snowing and
'cause
blowing
one of the
and-
complaints I had was from somebody that got stuck in a drift and couldn't get their vehicle off the street. Because we don't plow the streets during the day. We'll keep the emergency routes open, so that they can get up to the hospital and things like that. But you don't have the ability to go around and plow all the streets during the day because it was getting pretty bad during that day. I know that.
I mean, I totally agree with all that. I think the one thing falls back on me is they don't have a place to park their vehicle. And if they're renting, their landlord is obligated to give them the spot to park
Right.
their vehicle. So what are we gonna do about that? I mean, ultimately, that responsibility, he did not have a spot, even if he would have been parking in that spot when it did snow and he wouldn't have got the ticket. So this landlord, in my opinion, should be paying him the $50, pay the fine for him. Or we need, as a city, need to do something to get back to where these people don't have a place to go. And so it's cold out, you get home, you're throwing your kids in the house, you're cooking food, it's like, oh my God, my car's out there, yeah, I get this phone call, but I don't have a place to put my car. And so, I mean, it's the landlord's deal, so I mean,
So
I think we gotta do something about that.
Yeah, I understand. And we've looked at, there are 48 cars out of the entire town that didn't
Yeah,
have
but
a place.
how many of them did
that-
not have a spot to park? That's
that-
what I'm saying, I mean, but this is
that didn't have-
this is what's happening with this individual, I don't want to go out, but how do we get it so that these landlords are creating a spot for them to park?
I think,
If they're obligated to do so, then let's make them do it.
Brian, I know Phil's not the only renter or tenant that is in that situation. I think there are quite a few
Absolutely.
landlords that don't provide off-street parking. And, yeah, we need to get a handle on that for sure.
I should tell you though, that would be a function of landlord-tenant law. We don't, as a city, have the authority to enforce agreements between the landlord and the tenant.
Okay, so you're saying that they don't have to provide it? Is that what you're saying, Aaron?
No, I'm saying that they would need to take a civil action against their landlord in order to enforce
And
that.
don't we have a city ordinance against that, Blaine, about providing off-street parking? That's,
I don't know that.
We have an ordinance that says they need to provide one off-street parking spot per kitchen in the building. So if there's only one kitchen and there's 6 rooms being rented, only one spot has to be available.
Yeah, and I think there's two different issues here. One of them is notice, whether or not somebody knew that was the case. And the other one is, finding a place to actually park off-street. And one of the things we did do, just so you know, is, I talked to Brian Herman out at the university. So if you're probably not tied to the university, but a lot of people in town are tied to the university. And they do have, during a snow alert, they will allow faculty, staff, and students that need to find a place to park their car, to park in their south lot. And so that's available to them. And we started looking at, where would people go? Because it's not, people, I had several calls that said, where am I supposed to park my car? There's no place to park it. And my response is, if you're renting, your landlord, go to your landlord, and your landlord should find you a place to park your vehicle, whether it's a house or an apartment or whatever it is. Because the city does not have an obligation to provide that parking spot for you. Now, if we could, I've had people say, well, you used to do that. Well, when we owned the elementary school property, there was a great big huge parking lot that was vacant and people could go park there and we didn't care. But we didn't provide that for people to park there as a means of making sure people have a place to go. And so it gets difficult when you try to figure that out. I've thought of maybe a couple opportunities that we could do that. But, a number of these complaints are because I didn't know that I had to get my vehicle off the street. And like I said, it's 48 vehicles out of all the vehicles in town. And if you're one of them, it doesn't help you. But all the rest of the people were off the streets. And so then every one of those people now know that they have to be off the street during a snow alert. And one of the things that we do is encourage them to sign up for the emergency notification system. Most people have a phone now that they can just get a text, and we can go back and find out if you're signed up on that service and find out what happened, why you didn't actually get the message that there was a snow alert.
Can I give you my number?
It's-
Can I give you the number so you can verify that? It's 585-4346.
Is that
Can you-
something
you
too
wanna
that
write-
you want to contact whoever submits that to find out
Well,
why?
it's just like a whole series of events that took place. It
Yep.
almost felt like, it was like meant to be that we were gonna get that ticket because, we're very conscientious people,
Mhm.
There's a snowstorm, we're not gonna be parked there. But there actually, there was some blowing snow that day. I remember because I leave for work very early, but there wasn't any sizable buildup that particular day.
I would disagree with
as
you
well,
100%.
only because yeah.
We had people
What was
that
that
were
number
getting
again, Phil?
stuck.
585-4346.
4346.
I think we had at least 3 people because we had some people that were going out to get COVID testing at the Armory that were getting stuck getting back to their properties that got tickets and were towed, so. But that's, but that doesn't matter. I mean, it just, whether the weather was bad or not, that's, it goes back to the 2 issues of notice to you directly that there was a snow alert, and then finding a place for you to put your vehicle. And that landlord should know that they have to try to figure out where to, because that landlord has more than one property in town, I know that.
Well, I think the citation, I know it's $50, but it seems, maybe it's just probably a hard way to learn a lesson, but it might be something you're gonna have to just chalk up
Well,
and.
it's not so much, I could pay them $50, that's not the end of the world, but
Right.
it snows quite a bit in Minnesota, as you know.
Right.
And I don't wanna face a ticket or potentially getting towed every time because
Yeah.
the landlord doesn't clear a spot.
Well, Reggie, what can we do about that? What's the notice for this, to get a spot cleared for him? If he's got one kitchen in there, he should have one spot for his car.
Correct.
So
County,
what,
it's a county.
is that a
rental, isn't it?
county deal, or what is that?
Depends on how that ordinance is written, because just because the city ordinance says they have to provide a spot, it doesn't say anything about enforcing clearing the spot. And it still probably is a landlord issue. And it's something he'll need to contact his landlord about.
I
make
talked,
sure that
I
spot's
talked
So
to
what can we do? I mean, obviously he can contact his landlord, and his landlord
It
says
might,
no.
well, I talked to a landlord today, and in their lease, it specifically tells them what happens during a snow alert. But then who's responsible for cleaning the sidewalks on your property?
I clean the sidewalks,
So you're probably gonna be responsible for cleaning the driveway, if there's a driveway,
no driveway.
and cleaning the spot out on your yard.
You would need heavy machinery to do that, it's so thick with ice in the backyard. That's where we used to park when there were snowstorms, but it's impossible this year.
Do you have a cell number at all tied to the code red?
No.
No, okay. Is
I could give you one.
Oh, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you, you know, then
Do you have a
can
cell
option, get
phone?
the text.
Yeah, you should be
and the
signing
phone.
up with your cell phone, not your landline.
Okay, well, for 3 years, I have gotten some alerts, but never a code red for some emergency.
It's been a while since we did one.
I was just curious myself, so I went on the county website, and if you go to the county website and go to, code red alerts, you can register there.
Okay.
It's got a form you can fill out.
It's pretty slick, really. I know the system works. I got notifications like crazy, but you might have to just chalk it up as experience this time and get signed up on code red. Hopefully you won't have to have a,
So
Problem.
the situation with the landlord is I just have to contact my landlord, there's just nothing the city is gonna do about that?
I don't really know that we can have anything we.
No, I don't think, that's between you and your normally what I tell people is you have to go back to your landlord and let them know that you need a spot for your vehicle to get it off the street.
Yeah.
You know, because we're not gonna, I mean, there's nothing we can really do to go to the landlord and make them do it. You know, typically, we would probably have to take an action in district court if we had, you know, I'm not speaking legally, but, Aaron's here, but typically we have to take an action in district court to force a landlord to do something eventually if we're trying to enforce part of our ordinances. You know, and in this case, I don't know that, you know, it's not a nuisance. Sometimes we deal with nuisances, just through letters and stuff like that, but, if I was a tenant, I would go back to my landlord and say, I need a place to park my car. You need to help me figure that out. Because the next time we have a snow alert, if your car is on the road, it might get towed. You know, and there's nothing we can really do about that, because we have to tow vehicles and get them out of the way.
So the fact that I received that call, but there was no message
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, I don't know how that, I'd have to go back to the dispatchers and find out how that landline system works.
because if I had gotten that message, then I would have made sure one way or another that my car was off the street.
Well, you'll check into it and get back to them then.
Yeah.
I could provide you
That's-
with a cell number also if you like.
But it didn't come through your cell number,
No,
did
No,
it?
it came through your home line.
Oh,
Just for purposes of contacting me, if you want that.
Yeah, go ahead and Stacy will take it down.
It's 320-288-3342.
well, I appreciate you coming in and talking
Yep.
about it, because it opens up a lot of,
Yeah.
I mean, you're fine right now, but it does open up a lot of questions that get thrown out on the radio and the paper about what is, again, letting everybody know that, yep, there is a snow emergency that's set. We do have what we do as best as we can, and if it faltered for you, again, I would contact and find out why it failed to send you a message, because that comes through the county or the code red, or, right, is that where it comes from? So somebody specifically there might be able to help too. I mean, we can look and see if it actually went out, but as far as failing you, I guess I would follow up with, you know, because it did fail, obviously, that you signed up, it didn't do your landline. And, yeah, because it's hard and it's tough, and I always feel for bigger cities who have to go through this every year, but I also, we're getting the message out there, so I surely appreciate you coming and talking about
Is
it.
somebody gonna contact me or?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
Yep. we'll
Thank
get back to you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in, Phil.
Right?
I will take
Take
over. I
over.
apologize for being late. I was visiting with my mother and going through some stuff and lost track of time.
Well, we were
All
just-
me.
50
Stacy,
push-ups.
do you happen to have a hard
Retirement.
copy
I'm gonna count them.
We're only on the citizen.
of the packet?
Yep.
Thank you.
Where
where are we at?
Citizens' comments, that was, the B.
Okay, we
So-
did hear.
Yeah,
So
so
now
now
we're-
we're on public hearings.
Okay.
after all that. Good move.
Is there any other citizen comments? Okay, good. Public hearings, we have none. Reading and approval of minutes from 12/28.
I'll move approval of the minutes from 12/28.
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And the 12/28 condensed version of the minutes?
I will move approval of the condensed minutes from 12/28.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have the consent agenda consisting of the audit of city bills and the December transit report. I will move approval of the consent agenda.
I will second.
Any discussion on any of the items? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Petitions, requests, and communication, motion to authorize placement of organic drop sites.
Ready?
And Sid
Sid's.
Bauer is here.
She's like, finally.
Have you heard the news that we are organic?
Yeah.
It's official. I got a little presentation I'm gonna share, just kind of getting us all on the same page, give you guys some updates on how organics has been going, because it's been going, things have been actually happening. And then towards the end of that, I'm just gonna ask permission to use, some city land to create a drop site, and I'll explain what all that means. In a moment. Can you see it?
Yes.
Can you turn it off?
No,
Okay.
perfect.
Feel free to interrupt me at any point, ask me any questions you got. I got paper to write them down. So, first of all, why am I here today? Great question. I'm going to tell you about the program. I'm assuming you all know a lot about this already. That's good. My purpose is not to share new information with you. It is to kind of share information so that we're all on the same page and so that we can all kind of talk about the program in a similar way, right? So sharing the same information over and over to our community members will help them absorb said information, and we'll be able to talk about it more eloquently. And I also just want to give you some talking points, because if people ask about it or they're curious, you'll have something cool to say. You'll know some fun facts about the program, as opposed to just saying, go find Sid somewhere, she knows something. You can know something too, so that's fun. Any questions you got? Your questions or questions of other people, I would love to hear them. I like being here, that's another reason I'm here. And then, like I said, to get some permission to use city land for a drop site. So, a little overview of the Stevens County Organic Recycling Program. The county has a 2-year grant through the Mpca Environmental Assistance Grant Program. It goes from the summer of 2021 to the summer of 2023. The grant pays for all sorts of upfront costs in education around the program. So that's things like setting up routes through Engelbrechtsons. It's buying bins, like those green ones you see on the bottom right. It's getting organics compostable bags. It's paying for the design and printing and laminating of these beautiful signs that look really nice. They use these exact same signs up in Pope and Douglas counties, but we just changed the Stevens County thing. So if you go to Alexandria, you'll probably see this sign somewhere, right? So it's education regionally as well. Organics are some of the heaviest things in our waste stream, and they make up about 40% of our current garbage in Stevens County. So we have a lot of organics that we're just throwing in the trash right now. Engelbrechtsons, just like they do our recycling and our trash, they're doing our organics as well. And all of our organics are getting hauled to the Glacial Compost facility, which is right outside of Hoffman. And that's currently still in construction. However, it is open, we can drop stuff off there. They're using it as a transfer site right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about Pope Douglas solid waste. You'll see this acronym all over my PowerPoint and all over anything organics because they are a big partner in this program. They are a joint powers board for waste in Pope and Douglas counties. And basically their big role in their community is to operate the facilities and implement the programs. So they are less so the haulers. Engelbrechtsson is the people picking up our trash, bringing it where it needs to go. The place that it needs to go is run by Pope Douglas, right? So they're the ones handling it at the end, managing recycling and waste in our organics. They're the ones who built the big beautiful facility in Hoffman. Half of our garbage currently goes to a Pope Douglas facility. And their offices are in Alexandria. That office right there is right behind 3M and the Douglas County Hospital. It's like Central Alley right there. And they're big partners and teachers in this project. The whole reason Stevens County Organics is happening is because of them. So, before we talk about why we're organics recycling or where it's all going or how it all works, it's technically 4 places. So Morris is the little heart. Half of our garbage goes to the blue square, all the way in Winter, North Dakota. That's a landfill. They bring it there, they dump it in a pile. Done. It takes about 2 hours to get to Winter. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depending on which way the wind is blowing. It's very flat out there. The other half of our garbage goes to Alexandria, to that facility, quite literally, that building behind the flag. And that is another acronym, Material Resource Facility, or a Waste to Energy Facility. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that is. But half the garbage to the blue square, half the garbage to the star, and then our recycling gets shipped all the way down to McLeod, all the way down to Hutchinson, where they then pack it up and ship it all the way to Shakopee, which is about 20 minutes from my parents' house, which is 3 hours away. So I know that trek well, and it is long. So we're not sending really anything very close to us. All of the facilities in our area for garbage are not in our area. They're somewhere else. The Glacial Ridge Compost Facility is the little green flag. It's so close. It's almost touching the pink heart, right? That's part of the reason this is such a big deal, is that it's creating local, regional infrastructure for waste, and specifically for organics. So if we're taking our organics out of our waste stream, we're not hauling them all the way to North Dakota, we're not hauling them all the way to Alexandria, we're just bringing them right over to Hoffman, which is nice. Here's a couple pictures of those places. So here is the mountain that is the waste management landfill in Gwinner. We drive there, Ingebrigtsen's drives there at least once a day from Morris. They take a truck out there. Sometimes they're not allowed to dump because it's too windy and it's littering. So once again, it's just a giant mountain of trash. It sits there. Nothing else happens with it. The waste to energy facility in Alexandria, I like talking about this one because it's really intense and I've been there. But we've been bringing half of our garbage there since 2009. We have a contract with them where half of our solid waste goes there. There's all these conveyors, right? And things are getting sucked out and the plastic's moving around. They're trying to get all the recycling out the best they can. And then all of the garbage ends up in this big pit in this building. And then there's this guy, and he's sitting in this big swivel chair, and he's got joysticks on either one of his armrests, and he's swiveling, and there's like a big window overlooking the pit of garbage, right? And he's controlling that crane. So it comes down and it scoops up like this whole area full of garbage, and it drops it in the fire, and they burn it at 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. It's so dramatic and so intense. But the fire, then the heat from the fire is used to create steam. So then the steam goes to heat the hospital, it heats 3M, it heats Alec Tech. So it's waste to energy. Garbage, send it through the conveyors, the guy in the big swivel chair burns it. It's highly filtered. It's not considered an incinerator because of the regulations and how well all the ash is filtered out. And then the ash that is left over, there's so little ash left from how much they're burning, goes to an ash landfill, which takes up a lot less space than the giant mountain in North Dakota because they're burning it down to smaller size. This is pictures of the compost facility in Hoffman. That top picture, let's see if my mouse will know one. That top picture, the kind of dirt-looking pile on the top right, that's the ash landfill. They've been operating that for, I think, over 20 years. That's the maximum amount of ash they have. They've been burying it. Recently, they've been digging it up and sucking all the metal out of there that's in the ash. So Pope Douglas is doing some really cool stuff at their facilities. They own all this land, and so then on the left side of that picture is where they're building the compost facility. So that little boot barn, this bottom picture is obviously not from yesterday because things aren't green. But they are going to build another roof over where those concrete posts are sticking out, and that will be where the compost is set to mature and break down. It's about a 3 to 5 month process from banana peel to pile of stinky goo. Then you have to let the pile of stinky goo sit for a bit because otherwise it's still requiring nitrogen, so they have to let it sit so it doesn't try to eat your plants when you put it back in the ground, if you've heard of hot compost. The finished product will be marketed to landscapers as well as gardeners and community members. I could drive my truck up there. I don't have a truck. If I had a truck, I'd drive it up there. You could drive my little Mazda 3 up there. Pay for some compost, bring it home, put it in my garden. All of these resources are going to stay in our area. We're not shipping our compost to Glacial, North Dakota, right? All non-yard waste or organics are going to be welcome here. The reason for non-yard waste versus yard waste isn't because they're not compatible. It's tax compost systems. This is gonna be one of the nicest, if not the nicest, compost facility in Minnesota. This is a big deal. The way they're constructing it is higher upfront costs, but so much less labor long-term. It's really cool. It's cool engineering that's happening here. I wrote up a bunch of reasons about why we should organics recycle, and none of them include, because it's good for the earth. Because there's a million reasons that aren't just that, right? So the first one, regional program support. So our neighbors up in Polk and Douglas County, they got all this funding from the state. They're building this big, beautiful facility, and they said, neighbors, you can use this. And we said, yes, of course, thank you so much, neighbors. So both supporting our neighbors in their wonderful, amazing, incredible work to build such a unique facility in our area, as well as telling the state, we need this here. We're driving to North Dakota. We're driving to Hutchinson. We need facilities in our area to help us manage our garbage. Another really big reason we should organics recycle is efficiency. So, like I said earlier, organics are heavy and they're wet. We want to keep the wet stuff out of the fire, because that doesn't work well. And we want to keep the heavy stuff out of the truck that's driving all the way to North Dakota every day. Efficiency money, efficiency gas, efficiency literal fire that will not burn because there's wet stuff in there, right? It's another good reason. Another reason that we understand in communities is smart use of resources. If I don't eat my whole hamburger, I don't want to light it on fire. I want to turn it into some dirt so I can grow some more tomatoes to make another hamburger, right? It makes sense. Why we burn nutrients? We eat food for a reason. We don't need to burn the nutrients. Another reason I have is it controls waste costs. So having more options gives us more control over waste costs, right? If we can choose to go to North Dakota or to Hoffman or to Alexandria, that gives us control long term. And then, as you all know, one of the big three goals of the Morris model is no landfilling of waste generated within the county by 2025, and it's officially 2022, so that's closer now. And 40% of the waste in Stevens County is organics. So if we can suck all that out of there, we're getting pretty close. We're getting pretty close to 50%. So that's a big deal. Another thing I always tell people is that the cost of garbage for the rest of my life is most likely going up. It's not going to go down. We're not managing it well. We're not dealing with it well. So back to that controlling waste costs, giving us options really allows us to choose how dramatically it's going to go up in the future, right? So Pope Douglas has been organics recycling since 2017. They kind of started the same way we did, where they asked the state for some grant funding to get their program going. Here's a bunch of pictures. They're using the organic compostable green bags. This is what some of their carts look like that the trucks come and pick up. These are pictures just at community events. People being around to say this is where everything goes. University does similar stuff up on campus where they have people stand by the garbage cans at big events like maybe homecoming. I've done that with pom-poms before, and I yell at people where to put their trash. This bottom left picture, all of the schools, all the public schools in Polk and Douglas counties, organics recycle. Every single one. And they all have, not all of them, a lot of them have setups similar to this one, where they got some nice stainless steel tables with holes, some fancy signs that match all the other signs everywhere else, right? And maybe they glue some milk cartons on there to tell the kiddos where to put stuff, but all of the children in Polk and Douglas counties, they know how this works. And so that's kind of the template we're trying to replicate here, right? We're learning from our neighbors. It's making it a lot easier. We don't have to reinvent anything. We literally just change the logo on the sign, and bam, beautiful sign, right? And that's how a lot of this is going. So it's going smoothly and well. The way organics recycling for businesses is working currently in Stevens County, we have, as of yesterday, I think 12 different places that are currently getting their organics picked up. They put their organics in the green bags in their business or school or wherever. They put the green bag in the green cart outside their business. And we just swapped to once a week. It used to be twice a week. But once a week, and your breakfast sends the truck by, picks up the organics, hauls it up to Hoffman. Done.
Hey Sid,
Yeah.
are you providing the garbage bags currently to the restaurants?
Yes, so that's part of the grant funding is that myself, my credit card, no, the county grant funding is paying for bags and bins and all that startup gear for basically just as long as we have funding. And once I run out, then folks are to buy it on their own, but I dropped off more bags at Don's today, and at Willie's, and that kind of stuff.
And is that always gonna be the case, that we're gonna provide bags?
That won't be the case where it's gonna, because it's just how much grant funding we have, designated, like, in the line item of this is how much money we have to give folks bags. It could last for a while. We have quite a bit of funding, but it won't be forever. But part of my work is also telling people what bags and what kind of bags are coming in on their normal trucks. So US Food stops here a lot, and they got bags that you can buy, or whatever, right? The Super Value truck, there's bags you can buy there, so.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's a specific type of bag that you need?
It is a specific type, but there's lots of brands. This is a really big market right now. And basically the type is it needs to be certified compostable. And there's a bunch of big brands that have that specific, the numbers like ASTM 6500 or whatever, certification. But I can share more about that. I should have brought my page in it about
Oh,
bags
that's-
specifically. And they just have to be certified for commercial organics.
Right. Yeah, I was just envisioning how this is gonna go, cause if people run out of bags, then they're gonna be getting bags that aren't,
They're gonna need them.
yeah,
Yeah.
that aren't authorized or whatever, so.
Most big, like food trucks and shipment trucks, their warehouses have these types of bags in stock. You can get them a lot of places. But yeah, so we're putting them in the bags going in the cart going in the truck. Done? Here's some pictures of that. Cute. Over at Willie's, we had initially started just in the deli. We're kind of using Willie's as different departments, as different businesses, just because there's so much going on over there. But the bakery just started pulling out all their old moldy bread from bags like 2 days ago, and their carts back there are full now. We have so much. The middle picture on the bottom is the cafeteria at Mpca Public School. So they've started in their kitchen already. This is before the day I brought them the bag, so they were just practicing sorting. They didn't have the bag yet. Stone's Throw is the one on the left. The picture of me is our very first drop of garbage at the compost facility. It was very exciting. I got to ride a garbage truck that day. Thrilling. The picture with the 3 little holes in the bins, that's up at the courthouse. So we're using the courthouse as an example of how you could do this in an office setting. Obviously, we have less compost at the courthouse than they do at Willie's because there's less food there. But we're using it as, this is how it can work very easily and flawlessly in an office building, and that's going well. But it's fun. It's fun to see all this happening, going on. A lot of people have been asking me, when do I get to do this at my house? Everybody's asking me that, actually. And the main thing I tell them is a little bit different than businesses, because hopefully, Kevin, you don't have 65 gallons, a giant cart of food waste every week. That would be a different problem, right? We don't want that. So we're not going to bring a giant cart to your house. That wouldn't make efficient sense. And instead, what they're doing in Hope and Douglas counties is they're building drop sites. So that's what that fence is. And there's a couple carts inside that fence, and basically it's like how we have our recycled roll-offs out at the city shop. Bring your stuff here when it works for you. Drop it off. We'll take it away when it's full. And that's how this is going to work too. So at a household, you're going to buy your little small compostable bags. These pictures were taken at Willie's and Ace Hardware, and they have some at Town and Country now. You can go there right now and buy some household compostable bags. You're going to take all your food scraps and you're going to dump it in there just like you normally would. And then instead of putting it outside your house, because you're not going to fill up 65 gallons in a week, you're going to take it to a drop site. They've built, I don't even know the number of drop sites they have in Hope and Douglas. A lot. And they partner with churches and with local businesses to make it more of a community spot, right? Like this is for the public to use. That's what we're going to do here. But then the same thing. Agri-Bressons will drive by, pick up the carts, haul them up to Hoffman about once a week. Here's some pictures of what drop sites look like up in Hope and Douglas County. Same thing. Some of the fences are really big because these are places that are popular. The one that I showed you on that other page, that one right there, is located at the Lake Ida Township Hall. I think that's in Douglas County. Not a lot of people use it, so they didn't build it very big, right? But just a fence with a concrete slab, putting a sign up so everybody knows what it is. Not complex, not scary or hard. The thing that we're hoping to do is put one at the city shop, because we're people know where that is, they know what it's for. It's deeply convenient, not just for me. And Ingebrigtsen's is already picking up here, right? So the hope is that we would build a drop site right on top of whoever's pickup truck that is. Get it out of the way, right? Probably about a similar size, maybe a little bit smaller than this one, because you want to build it big enough so that if you need more carts, you can put them in there. You don't want to build it too small and then regret it. And then I just made this sign. It's in Photoshop. But we would print out signs like this that say this is a partnership between Stevens County, between the city, probably put Ingebrigtsen on there as well, and then the Glacial Ridge Compost Facility, just so folks know what's going on, making it visual. And this is our hope. And this, we have money in the grant for, it's labeled as 3 drop sites. If we build a fence in a place that already has asphalt or cement, we don't need to lay that slab. And so therefore, building it in this kind of location gives us more money to potentially build more drop sites. So if we just have to put up a fence here, we probably don't have to put down a concrete slab. That's a parking lot. It gives us funding to put more drop sites elsewhere. Our current brainstorm ideas as to where we would hope to put them would be this one for sure. This one makes the most sense. It is very logical, convenient, easy. The second one, I'm going to talk to First Lutheran's Council next week, actually, because they have those 2 parking lots, literally right over there, and that one would be a very visible one, right in the middle of town. Everybody can see it, really close to a lot of residences. And then the third one, we don't know yet. And I kind of don't want to put it in Morris, right? Maybe we'll put it in Hancock. Maybe we'll put it in Chicago. But if we don't have to build a bunch of concrete slabs, we can have more fencing to put one up in Hancock and Chicago, right? So that's kind of what we're thinking. Where would be a convenient place for people to bring their pizza crust that they refuse to eat, right? It's here.
Sid, question regarding, we know it's winter now and smell doesn't get to be as much of an issue, but how are some of these recycling places managing the smell?
Yeah,
Because we know that, you know, when it gets 80, 90, 100 degrees,
it might stink a
and
little bit.
you put refuse in a place, it's
Yep.
gonna have a smell, and I just, you know, there are trailer courts on either side of where you're proposing here, and, you know, how are we gonna manage that?
Yep. A big part of that is we're not gonna let the compost sit for a month. Ingebrigtsen's will pick it up on a regular basis. It's not gonna be allowed to ferment outside of the city shop, right? Another big part is that what they found in Pope Douglas is, yes, it stinks. It stinks the most when you open up the lid and look at it, right? If you keep the lids closed and you keep everything contained as it should be, it smells maybe similar to how a garbage can would, because it's all the same stuff in there. You just put it in a different bin. And yeah, mostly it's not so big and scary of a concern that it's caused widespread problems, and that managing it is pretty simple to keeping those lids closed and doing pickup schedules. Ingebrigtsen's and Troy specifically have also so far been so very flexible, where if there is a problem, we'll send somebody to deal with it, right? So I assume if it's so stinky and bad in the world, Troy's not gonna screw over the program. He's a big opponent of it, so we'll make it work. And right now the issue is everything's frozen over at the Willie's one, right? There's no smell.
Right.
There's a lot of frozen donuts over at the back of Willie's right now.
Yep.
But so far, up in Pope and Douglas, smell has not been one of their bigger challenges. So, other thoughts on this? I can pause now if we want to talk about whether or not this seems like a good spot. Oh, I was going to bring up another spot we had thought about was over at Green River Park, and specifically the parking lot over there, the weird little slanty one, because that's also just such a central road from people coming into town, from people going places. I live right over there. Everybody's going by all the time. So that'd be another visual potential good spot. And we'll obviously talk to the shop guys about where they specifically want to put it out there before we drill any holes. But any thoughts on this as a location for a drop site?
Is that something we need to let residents know, that, you know, we're proposing a site like this, you know, people that own property around there?
I mean, right now it's a recycling center anyway, you know, with all the stuff that's there, but.
I would say this right here on the city property is pretty
easy,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Well, I think, you know, part of this whole thing is to make make sure everybody in town knows what's going on
Right.
anyway.
Exactly right.
But, yeah, so that, I think that would be part of the strategy, is to let people
Yep.
know, but whether or not there's an obligation to give notice to the property owners that we're gonna locate something like that there, probably not.
I'm not saying, well, I'm just thinking maybe just to be a good neighbor, if nothing else.
Yep.
It's in all of our garbage cans now. I mean, the stuff that's getting pulled, instead of in our garbage cans at everybody's house, it's gonna be at the one location. So it's not something new that's coming in, it's just
Yeah.
more concentrated.
And
When I-
theoretically, you said that everything that's in there should be in a bag.
Right.
Yes, yes, grateful.com, it should be, that helps keep Angry Bretson's trucks clean, so it's respecting their facilities. It's helping Pope Douglas, at their facility, make sure they can actually get all of the goo instead of just like loose corn dogs everywhere, you know, it's helpful. It doesn't have to be a green compostable bag, paper bags decompose. If you got a Willie's bag that's, you don't need to save because maybe it's a little bit ripped, for stuff in there that can go in there.
Right.
But yes, bag is good because it's respecting the carts as well as the Angry Bretson's trucks. For the facilities mainly, yeah, so then things need to be bagged, right?
During
Keeping
your,
that stink out too,
That's a good
bagging
point.
everything.
during your summer event, one of the questions I asked was how clean is this organic garbage gonna be in these sites? And I think Nathan said it was like 99%. If you're gonna take the time to go use that site, you're gonna do it the right way, and they don't have a problem with people just throwing whatever in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's not gonna be a garbage dump.
This is also a community that's ready for this and knows how this works, right? It's not like we're introducing some scary new concept to everyone here. Organics is, we understand
Yeah.
it here.
Okay.
Any thoughts? The only other slide I had on my presentation is some homework for all of you. And also this includes you, Marshall. You're ready? This is you. This is your homework. Before you next see me, part of this work that I'm doing is education and conversation and spreading the word, right? So your homework is to do 1, 2, 3. Number 3, you gotta talk to 3 different people about this. You can ask them a question, you can tell them something. You gotta talk to 3 different people. Number 2, you gotta come up with 2 questions. There's lots of questions. This is a new thing we're doing. Questions for me, questions for somebody else. I don't know, 2 questions. And number 1, you have to find at least one We Organics Recycle sticker or organic sign around town, because they're around, and you might not know where they are. But I have a bunch of these in like little tiny sticker form, and they're around town. And these are also all around town.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How come it's not We Recycle Organics?
Because it's organics recycling. And if you say we recycle organics, then people are just gonna think recycling. You gotta put the organics first. That's one thing they do in Pope Douglas for sure, otherwise. You say we recycle organics, this is going in the blue bin. People get confused. So that's your homework. If you take a picture, you get bonus points for me.
Good question.
Maybe I'll bring snacks. sometime.
When are you anticipating seeing us next, so we know when our homework is due?
Part of the fun. You never know.
Inspector Clouseau, she's just gonna show up.
It's gonna show up outside. City Council. If people do have questions for you as you're going around, you're talking with folks, you're sharing things, the county, they're fools up there. They just gave me complete editing access to the website, so I can do whatever I want on my little organics page. But it's been good. I put all my contact info up there, everything about the program, pictures, how to get started. If people have more questions about the program, send them to the website. You can just Google Stevens County Organics, and it'll pop up. There's all sorts of good stuff going on. We officially started collecting on the 13th of December. And yeah, as of yesterday, we got 12 different businesses, including the public schools, Don's, the Met, Wheelies, Old Number 1. Who else?
Stone's Throw.
Stone's Throw's on board. I have my own list. I went over this list like 12 times today. Hancock Public Schools doing it. The DAC started up. And I'm just trickling outward, getting more and more people on board, having these conversations. So.
Good job.
It's fun work. I'm having a good time. So.
So this website's on our city site also?
No, it's not. It's on the county site. If you wanted to make a link on the city site that said, learn more about Stevens County Organics, and then
I
you
guess
link to this, I think they
It'd
did
be
that on the
nice,
New Breton site.
it'd be nice if we were able to do that, just to
That would be
link it
great.
through our site.
Who would I contact about that, Blaine? You guys don't, do you have somebody else? who does the
Jessica,
thing?
or we can talk to talk to Stacy, she'll give you that.
Yeah, because Agribus, they just have a link and then it links over to my website.
And then just really quick, one of the things Trig's working on right now with regards to organics is he's putting together a survey that's gonna go out to the community to talk to them about organics and, you know, what they know and what they think about, you know, potential collection of organics, stuff like that. So that's one of the ways that we'll get information out.
I'll go back to this slide. So then Blaine said, I was asking about what we need to do in order to give permission to use city land. I won't drill any fences into the ground until I come tell you again about exactly what we're doing. But I'm just trying to start this process of getting approval to build drop sites so that once the snow does thaw, I can be on top of it instead of waiting until summer. It's kind of my plan.
Yeah, and so I'm recommending to you that we do one at the Public Works Garage for sure, and then we'll take a look at maybe Green River and that parking lot area, because you could put it on maybe one end or the other, figure it out, but definitely putting one at the Public Works Garage. That'd be a great site for it. So we're looking for a motion from the council to authorize that.
I'll move to authorize the placement of an organic drop site at the county, or at the city garage.
I will second.
All right, any further discussion on that motion? I think that's a great idea. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay,
Thank you,
bud.
Sid.
Thanks, Sid.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sid.
Click.
Okay, ordinances and resolution. We have a resolution adopting the city council standing rules.
I'll move that we adopt the 2022 Morris City Council standing rules.
Well, second?
Any discussion? All in favor, resolution, we'll have roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Wallers?
Yes.
Salvi?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Tillotson?
Yes.
Mayor Gay?
Yes. We have a resolution authorizing finance director to designate depositories. I will make the motion for that resolution.
I'll second?
Any discussion? We'll have roll call vote on that resolution, please.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Wallers?
Yes.
Salvi?
Yes.
Tillotson?
Yes.
Mayor Gay?
Yes. And finally, we have a resolution appointing officers for the Morris Fire Department for 2022. And this list comes from the fire department, so.
I will move approval of the list of officers for the Morris Fire Department for 2022.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We'll have roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Salvi?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Wallers?
Yes.
Tillotson?
Yes.
Mayor Gay?
Yes. City manager report.
Just two quick things and then I'll answer questions. Number one, Guido is not coming. So I think the German Department of Health recommended that travel to the United States because of COVID probably wasn't a good idea at this time. So he's going to come at a later date. So we won't have to do anything with that one coming up. The other thing is tomorrow they're going to be going around doing sidewalks. I think they identified, I didn't hear what they found on the east side, but there was like 20 sidewalks on the west side that weren't done yet. And so then we'll have a vendor go around and start cleaning up those sidewalks. I mean, the big thing is the city winds up taking care of all their stuff before they can kind of get at looking at all these sidewalks and things like that. And obviously the storm kind of ended on Friday and people had the weekend to do their sidewalks and stuff, so they should be done now.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's another storm coming on Thursday or something.
There's another one coming, so.
So,
But, and then I would just answer any questions you might have.
you might wanna hit that real good if you're gonna do
Yep,
a program with Marshall tomorrow.
yeah, absolutely.
Because if somebody hasn't done their sidewalk yet and they get out there tomorrow morning and do it, obviously
The way it
vendor's
works
not gonna
is
do it.
we'll give the list to the vendor will go do it, and if they're done before they get there, then they just don't charge us for it.
Good.
But, they're out there, I mean, there's some that haven't been done yet. And the students are gone, so if a student's responsible for doing a sidewalk, they're probably not They come back next week, I think it is the 18th.
See, you know, and that's also a landlord issue.
Yes.
It is.
If,
Because the responsibility falls on the landlord.
Ultimately, it's
Yes.
landlord.
That's
Yeah.
who the bill goes to, is the landlord, not the
Yep.
student.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what they have in their rent agreement.
Exactly.
It's gotta
Right.
get shoveled.
Oh, we live in a city that has about, what, 40% of our homes are
Yeah.
rental properties?
Right.
So, yeah, it's an issue.
So that's all I have.
Okay, any questions about the city manager report? Any other business to come before the council?
Just to refresh, we touched on before you got here, just the list of appointments to different committees. You did West Central Initiative last year, did you not?
Yes, I am on that now, yeah.
I was just listed as me being on there, and I said I was sure it was you and you'd planned on doing it again
That is
this year.
correct.
But that, I'd expired my term at when I could be, is it like a 3 or 6 year,
It's 2
3 year?
3-year terms, I think.
Okay, so you're on your,
Yeah.
okay, so we did appoint
They
you.
changed that
Okay.
to you.
And
Okay,
if you
good.
didn't wanna do it, I would be able to, but
Yeah,
I said I was sure it was you. Thank you.
no, good, thank you. Thanks you for pointing that out. I looked these over last night and I thought, yeah, that looks okay. And quite frankly, with COVID and stuff, there really hasn't been much for me.
You haven't been able to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a snowstorm and I missed a meeting and that was about the only one that I could have went to,
Okay.
I think. Good, thank you. Anything else? Great, meeting adjourned. Happy New Year, everybody. Woo!